Okay, so it's been my habit for a while now, years really, to every once in a while come outside and in front of my house, sit in my SUV in front of my house in the driveway and make videos. Sometimes I used to do a lot of them while I was driving places. I don't go as many places now as I used to, and I mean, I used to go somewhere every day. Just not, and I'm not talking like working. If I worked, I went more than one place. But yeah, and I would come out here. I also would go to the park, or yeah, sometimes mainly to the park. And it got so bad, the traffic. I mean, this is a neighborhood. The park was next to an elementary school, so you know the speed limit's in a house surrounded by houses. You know the speed limit's not going to be 60 miles per hour, but that's what people wanted to drive. And it got dangerous to me. It's a nice area, you know, expensive houses here in Texas. It's an expensive neighborhood. These are, okay, now I'm not going to be able to think of the name, but they're estates. Okay, they call them, there's a difference here. I don't know if there's a difference where you are. But yeah, and there are people that, you know, are so entitled that they drive like maniacs. And I think one of the, well, I'm not going to say that. I am, by the way, my master's degree is in sociology, so I could say, give an idea why, and I wouldn't be wrong. It's not anything you would think either. Don't even think it. But anyway, I'm saying that not as like a brag or something. I'm a matter-of-fact type person. I'm very logical, and I state things in matter-of-fact, like this is going to need to be told to make it more understandable, and so on and so forth. Now, like I said, I sit out here, and I've been doing it for years. I've complained about the neighbors because, you know, I was one of those in a generation. I hope it still continues. I don't know for certain, but you know, younger generations being taught to watch your environment. If you're sitting in your SUV or your car or whatever, watch the environment, what's going on around you. So, you know, somebody doesn't come up and carjack you, you know, anything. Whatever it is, you know, pay attention to your environment. And I was one that was driven home to. And so I watch my side view mirrors and my rear view mirrors. And if something happens behind me, I see it. Okay, because it's habit. That's how we were taught. I mean, I've actually been on video a couple of times. Well, one time I remember a guy, instead of running on the sidewalk to the left of me, to the right of me, I was parked by the, I was parked at the park. I was parked at the park, and instead of running on the sidewalk, he ran next to my car and came real close to hitting my side view mirror on my driver's side, and I saw him right as he was about to pass, and it scared me so bad. No, and I chastised myself for not having seen that movement, you know, not been looking around enough. Anyway, all that, and you know, and then it got too, the people driving too fast, all of it. So I'm doing more at home now. And, you know, I usually, sometimes I just put a post-it on the back of my camera, you know, it's a cell phone, and I just color. And then recently I found out some things like, you know, if you use, they're free to you, free to use, clip graphics and such, that, you know, at some point the people who did them, who own the, I guess, the license or whatever, and they decide they want out of their contract, and they can make everybody take them down. No, I'm not doing that. Okay. And there was plenty of stuff that happened all at once that said, okay, I get it now. It's best just something that is your own. Well, these are my trees. Okay. I did some videos during the before fall, for autumn, and that showed this. One of them, it's not a tree, it's a shrub. Actually, you know, crepe myrtle is a shrub, And I did not know that it was a shrub until this past year, 2025. And I did not know that it was this Texas's state shrub. Yeah, neat. They're everywhere. Crepe myrtles. Some of them can be so beautiful. You would not believe. And they get pretty tall. So anyway, now all that background here for me to say, as I've been sitting out here more and more, I noticed things that I've never seen before. I mean, I've done this. I've made videos for YouTube. My original YouTube channel goes back 11 years. In August was 11 years. 11 years. Okay. So, yeah, you know. But more and more recently, this past year, 2025, like I said, today's the third day, you know, January 3rd, 2026. And I started seeing different things. Like, I told Adam about one of them. He said, there's no way. And I said, it seems like people are walking home from work and they come out behind this one house. They come from behind it. And I can't really see it because our garage is blocks their house, you know, the house and the behind the house. And he told me there's no way. There's a fence there. There's no way these people are doing this. But I kept seeing just like every once in a while I'd see one guy or one woman or, you know, young people. And they'd walk down the other end of the road. There's no parking spot here. There's no anything for where they would have been parked. There's no business here, no anything, just houses. You know, there's no park, I mean, the park is not right here. And this is just a small nook of it, I guess you'd call it. And he said that Adam, you know, he said there's no way. He's a friend of a guy that lives there. He said that's all fenced in. There's no way they could be coming from what's behind it. Nothing. And what's behind it is a farm. It's a farm. Yeah, this is Texas. I live in the exurbs, not the suburbs, but the exurbs. And I'm like, there's just no way, because I would see one every once in a while. I said, what are they doing? Where are they? So since I can't see their front door, because of our garage where we park our cars, Adam's what do they call that? You know, where what do they call? Boy, I am losing my words. It's a man cave, yeah. And I think maybe they why in the world would they park far away and go to their house and be in their house? You know, it doesn't make any sense. And what it is it's parents that are our age, you know, and around our ages. And from what I understand, there's one son. He's a total jerk. I wouldn't probably recognize any of them if I saw them somewhere. You know, I have very little to do with them, so at all. We ran across them in a store one time, and Adam knew him. Adam talks to everybody. I don't. But anyway, the son is probably like in his 40s, and his wife and I guess their kids, maybe, I don't know. And he apparently is a car salesman, and he would have some of them he would take home. There were like sporty cars, and he'd park them up and down here, which you can't do that here. And so he ticked off someone, I don't know who. This is years ago, and that he no longer does that. But something goes on. Maybe he runs his business. You can't do that out here either, the HOA. And there's a good reason for it. They don't want people to, you know, make a parking lot. People don't want to buy a home where there's going to be businesses inside people's houses, and who knows what kind of characters are coming out there, and they could be scoping out the neighborhood. You see, that it may make sense. People buy their homes and pay the high taxes and pay the high price for that reason. There's an HOA. They know some people can't stand the HOA because, like another neighbor that does run a business out of their home, and the people do come to our doors, interrupt our home, our dogs start barking when they can't find them, or they got the wrong house or the wrong address. This, you see. And not only that, she runs one, and he runs one out of their home next door to us. And they complain about the HOA. Okay. I've noticed in my life, people who really complain about the HOA as in everything like that, it's because they want to have their way, and that's not in your contract. You sign the contract. Other people do too. They do it for a reason. They're paying for it. They are paying for it. So, just because you want it, I'm not saying you, it's just a form of expression. Anyway, so now something else is going on. Okay, that's a long 11 minutes just to get to this point. Besides that, seeing that, I started noticing, I'm not new to this planet at all. Okay, I am not new to this planet at all. I taught some of at college and university. Many of my students really were criminal justice majors. So not all of them, but many of them. And so I'm not new to this either. And I mean, it's all suspicion. It's all, allegedly. But yesterday I was sitting out here making videos, and at the end of my driveway, somewhat end of my driveway, a car came around. I mean, I'm not even sure. They parked on the wrong side of the road, so they had to have come from the an area that has a cul-de-sac. Okay, or yeah. Well, there's a road. There's an alley back there, and I don't know if there's another way in it or out of it. When it was first made, there wasn't. So, and then there's another alley. Okay. Behind the houses, you barely see them. Anyway, they may have come out from one of the houses. I don't know. I just saw him park. It was a guy. He parked and he did his seat backwards and leaned back and started smoking. Okay, I assumed it was a cigarette. And he sat there for a while and got on his cell phone and started making calls. I mean, I could just see just that. I wouldn't be able to say what his face looked like. I could just see the actions. And, because it was right in my rearview mirrors. My rearview mirror and my side view mirrors. I could see this. And, like I said, I was trained this way. Watch your environment. And that had me curious, though, because he was parked on the wrong side of the road and all this stuff. And I had had my mail stolen before. Yeah, mail stolen. And I actually called the people. It was that neighbor who had lived in that house before that guy, and it was their employees. That was a different story. But one of them was going right toward my mailbox. There's nothing there but my mailbox, our mailbox. And I called them, and they looked up. I was just coming out the door to go somewhere, and I saw them, and the woman looked up. When she saw me, she went the other direction. And our mail had been stolen repeatedly. Okay, speaking of, there's Adam. When I come out here, he'll come out here just to see what I'm doing at that moment. He knows what I do. So it's Adam. Anyway, so that car was sitting back there behind there, and I'd look up every once in a while. Then all of a sudden I saw another one. It was a I'd never seen it before out here. I'd never seen either one of that car, or this was a little truck. I call them Bubba trucks. They're nice. They're new. It was a little one. Usually they're big. Usually the Bubba truck's what I call a Bubba truck. Well, I grew up where a Bubba truck was scary. They were old and they were scary. But here, they're new, and they think they own the road. This is a part of Texas here, in the exurbs of Dallas. Okay, northeast of Dallas. And this was a truck. It was small, like I said, and they had I'm guessing they were a lawn service. I didn't turn around to read it. It was backwards, of course, but and I couldn't recognize it at all. Never been out here. And they pulled up, and I think it was a woman, and got out and went up to his window, had a few chats with him. They were young, and I really wouldn't be able to recognize her face. It wasn't that close. And it could have been a guy. But I think it was a woman. And then they talked, maybe spoke to one another for maybe a minute or two. And then she left, and then he followed her and left. Like I said, I'm not new to this planet. And I taught criminal justice majors, some of them. Yeah, I've got, like I said, it's suspicion. It's allegedly. And I've never seen either one of them out here, live out here. And I guess if you're wanting a neighborhood where police officers wouldn't be, just, you know, people weren't, you know, they were driving nice vehicles, and it's just isn't a place known for that, at least not now. Okay, well, I think you saw what happened. Yeah, my mount clipped and came off. It didn't fall all the way off, but so I put a Post-it. The Post-it is actually orange, really light orange. What color do you see? Exactly. And the Post-its never come the same color. You know, something like, it's either a Post-it or something like it. But anyway, so I told Adam, didn't tell him what I suspected. He suspected the same thing. And that's not going to happen. Period. We don't pay for that. You know, for people to come pick up whatever they're coming to pick up from somebody. And you know, like I said, I'm not new to this planet, but it doesn't have to be what you think either. Like I said, I'm not new to this planet. It can be various things. And no. Now, I don't know how I would connect to the people who are walking from behind somebody's house. Like I say, I can't see because of the garage, but I can see, like where I'm sitting right now, I can see people where they're walking out of, like from the grass of that house, or, you know, and they're not parked here. They're walking past me, behind me, going in the other direction to where I would assume is their home, their house, their vehicle. I think one time I saw them get in, saw somebody. It's not the same people. And I remember thinking that it was just people getting off of work wherever they worked for somebody around here. You know, like they worked inside somebody's home, because when we first moved out here, Adam was real suspicious of this truck that kept coming down the road twice a day. It was an old beat up truck too, and it was loud. And he was so suspicious of it. What it was somebody, a guy picking up his girlfriend or his wife or girlfriend, whatever, and she was a babysitter nanny out here. So babysitter or nanny, whatever it was, and that's what it was. The people out here get very suspicious, and I guess rightfully so. See, I'm not all like that. You know, I mean, I'm not suspicious. I'm just like what I notice. I was trained in research, qualitative and quantitative, and so observation is my thing. You know, I don't have access to whatever it is now that they use software and all, but you know, for just observation, yeah, I'm trained. I was a career student over 20 years. So, yeah. I really want to know what I know. The terminology, I've forgotten now. A lot of it. A lot of terminology. But then I had a problem back then, too. You know, I would remember the concept, but the terminology for it, yeah, that was tougher. Anyway, I am curious what is going on. And I also want to see, somebody apparently got their kids something for Christmas. Adam said it was one of those four-wheelers. What did he call them? Four-wheelers, I guess. And he said it was a, not exactly like a little baby child, like a toddler's version, but in between. And they go back and forth down the road. To me, it's like, hey, that's cool. You know? To Adam, it's like, it's so noisy. So don't ruin it for him. Don't ruin it for him. And when we first moved here, it was so funny. One of the places, these houses were bought. You know, renting them out was kind of like a no-no back then. And, I mean, they were new. So somebody bought one of the houses and used it for that purpose, was to rent them out, rent that house out. And, or they just had to move or something. The suspicion was something else. And people have moved into that house to run businesses. You got it, okay? I mean, these are big houses. You pay, this is an expensive county. So people who want to have business here, they try to get houses because the houses are real big, you see? And run businesses out of the houses when you can't. It's zoned against it. I think it's a zoning thing. I do think that's usually how it is. I could be wrong. That's not my area of anything. I'm not a voice of authority. But anyway, the house, they had some, I don't know where they were from, where they originally went. I think they went back. It was somewhere up north, and it's known as a lot of farms out there. But they had, it was so cute. It was like it was a tractor, old-fashioned looking tractor, but for kids that were, say, around 10 years old or so, 10 to whatever, you know, around that age. It's not for little ones. And the parents were always with them, and they would run and go up and down the road. It was so cute. It was just so cute. And but then, you know, the people over this time, the people who were the ones that would have the kids, they're now the ones who are the grandparents to kids that age. And so we're going through this transition, and so now some of the people who were kids are now coming back with their kids and living in these houses, you know, with their parents who are our ages and older. Got that? So, yeah, so we have a lot of new cars zooming down the road. This is not a long road, so you have to really floor it. I mean, they would have to really floor it to go that speed, and that's dangerous. This has kids, okay? There are kids in the neighborhood now, lots and lots of kids. Not lots, but enough. One is enough that you don't want to drive like crazy. And so there's that. But and you definitely know this is not going to become a pickup, you know, place, you know, whatever they're called these days for that kind of thing. Not happening. Anyway, I'm wrapping it up.